Hello, welcome into the Starcast Circle Mark Studios. My name is Ryan Chambers, and here in a second we'll be joined by somebody. But first, please go and use the promo code THPN the next time you go and use the DraftKings app for a special little offer from them. This is the after game review for game number 67. Stars get the win tonight by a final score of 5-4 over the San Jose Sharks. Cool thing about tonight, Joe Pavelski gets the game-winning goal, although it shouldn't have been that way, but, storybook ending for Joe Pavelski anyways. But nonetheless, Stars get the W tonight, and the prodigal son returns. James is finally back. He's been a little busy with work and everything, and I think this is your first AGR in like 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, something like that.
It's been a long time. It's really nice to be able to get back on it, though.
Yep, it just so happens it coincides with Christian going to disc golf nationals for Texas A&M. So he is asleep right now, getting ready. They have to drive starting early in the morning tomorrow. I mean, it's like a 16-hour drive to North Carolina, I think. And he has to get up at like 4:15 in the morning. So like 4 hours from now. So, he's not with us tonight, but we wish him well in the nationals, and we'll look forward to his return in the next AGR that he can do. But we'll settle for James. Our stats guy is back, so I expect a lot of stats for tonight's games. James, you got anything for us to start off the AGR tonight?
First time for like 3 years we've had 2 players hit 30 goals in a season.
There you go. Stat. Yeah, there's a quick stat. Yeah. All right. Brandon. We'll go ahead and mention it. Brandon on YouTube. Okay, boys, how long until Ryan's internet goes out? Bets are open.
It's been okay.
That's not fair, man. That's not fair.
It's been okay. It's been okay.
West Texas internet sucks, man. I really hate it, but I have the best I can get it. I actually have 2 internet service providers right now until I get rid of the other one. But Starlink is okay. Okay, the download speeds are excellent, but the upload speeds are not as great. So just bear with me. Hopefully it doesn't go out tonight. We'll see.
All I can say is that I do not envy you.
Right. Middle of nowhere. Hey, and I'm still able to kind of do these, right? It kind of works. So anyways, that is a really cool stat from tonight's game, James, is the fact that for the first time since the 2014-2015 season, the Stars have 2 30-goal scorers under the age of 25. And those 225 or younger players happen to be Bennigan way back when they were dominant. And, fantastic to see Rope Hintz get his 30th of the year. Not the prettiest goal, but, Robo didn't get his prettiest goal for his 30th of the year either. So who cares?
Yeah, Robo's looked like a very legal goal. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even watching that replay before the third period started, I was kind of like, he thought it wasn't a goal. He was kind of perplexed. He was like,
yeah, he was laughing,
like looking around, like looking at his teammates, like, wait, why are y'all celebrating about this? That's not going to count. But whatever. But anyways, talking about tonight's game, James, was there anything that stood out to you? Any initial observations that you thought was like good, bad, whatever? Anything you can think of?
The game just got really bad for the Stars as the game went along. I mean, it just slowly started to slip out of our hands, and luckily we held a big enough lead to not let it drop at least. So.
And one of the biggest things for me is still the power play for the Stars. It's not as good as it used to be. And what's frustrating is that I think Razor mentioned it during the broadcast. I can't remember if it was the second period or third period. And he mentioned the fact that the Stars originally, like at the beginning of the year, were 4th in the NHL. That was their power play. And I forgot what the cutoff was, but it's 26th in the NHL. Right. That's what I was thinking. And I think overall, we're like 12th or 13th in the NHL right now in power play percentage.
Than that, honestly.
And, that's not a good thing. Now, the good thing out of that is that they've been able to score more on 5-on-5 goals, which we were complaining about a lot at the beginning of the season. So is not scoring on the power play okay for right now, considering we're still scoring a bunch 5-on-5? Or is that something we should be concerned about because, you have to really take advantage of your opportunities in the playoffs? Assuming
No,
we make the playoffs.
I mean, it's definitely something to be concerned about, but as I joke about, the Stars seem to just score all their power plays in bursts. Like they'll have a night where they score nothing, and then the next night they'll score 3. It doesn't make sense. So my theory is that they're just saving all of them for the playoffs.
I like your thought process there. I like your thought process there. That's
Oh man, I
good.
really hope it's true.
I say that all the time too. Just like, I hope my analysis is good. I hope they do what I say. And then, like, more than half the time, they prove me
They
wrong.
don't. Yeah, I
But
know.
exactly. So,
So it's nice to think about, though.
all right. Well, anyways, let's go ahead and get into our. Oh, no, we need to do this first. Christian started a new segment. I'll go ahead and say mine first. But, James, you need to think about your biggest loser and your biggest winner from tonight's
Y'all
game.
just
Okay.
started.
Yeah, we started this a couple of weeks ago, and we actually didn't say it last week. I think I forgot to pull it up, so I got to bring it up this week. Okay, so biggest winner in tonight's game, in my opinion, was Joe Pavelski. He gets the 5th goal of the game here tonight in the 3rd period. He gets a goal in front of his old hometown crowd, and what was funny is I'll say this again when we get to it, but in the game summary, when the PA announcer announced that he got the goal, there was actually a bunch of cheers from the San Jose crowd. So I thought that was kind of cool. The biggest loser in tonight's game, there's a couple. Oh, Ardell, that is freaky, man. That is complete freaky.
Man.
Okay, you must be reading my mind. I swear, y'all watch so much now that y'all are reading our minds. Ardell saying Harley looks lost at times in defensive coverage, pinches up a lot. He needs to learn when and when not to jump up. That was going to be one of my biggest losers tonight, was Thomas Harley. I mentioned this at the end of the first period. I'll just go ahead and say it now. With 1 minute remaining in the first, I put Harley has looked pretty rough here in the first period. There were a couple of defensive miscues that he had, and maybe he's just not fully ready to take up that top 4 role that he's expected to take. Did you see anything like that out of Harley tonight?
Sure.
Do you agree, disagree?
I completely agree. He had a very rough night. And I didn't get to watch the first period, but I listened to most of it, and it really just felt like it felt like when I did get to watch that he was sticking out like a sore thumb, and it wasn't fun to see. And it's the reason why he was started to get scratched after he was in for like 15 games, and it's really rough to see. I don't know. He looks so good, like in the middle of those 15 games that he played. I don't know if it's like a confidence thing or if he's just trying to go too much on offense now, but it's rough.
And this is a good point by Eric here on YouTube. Hey, Eric, thank you for listening. Like always, man. He will be top 4 next year after John walks. And, talking about John Klingberg. Assuming John Klingberg does walk, which I'm assuming he probably will at this point, I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that he re-signs with the Stars. But if he does, Harley's going to have to take up that spot. Right? I mean, this Stars team is very used to having 2 top 4 defensemen who can really move the puck and who are more offensively minded. And we'll still have Miro. He's around for another 8 years after this year. But the logical step for the Stars, other than going and getting another guy in free agency, would be to expect Harley to take that position. And he doesn't even have to be a top 2 defenseman for the Stars. He just needs to be in the top 4. So what is, in your opinion, what do you think Harley needs to do in order to get that top 4 mentality going through his head and that confidence from Bowness? Any ideas?
Honestly, I'm not quite sure. I mean, he just is so rough on the defensive end up in the NHL, especially for sure. I'm sure he does like fine in his lower leagues, but he's getting majorly exploited in these games.
And I'm glad you said that because that would be my biggest issue with him over the course of the last couple of weeks is not his offensive game. I've loved his offensive game. I've seen it more. Um, Maybe the fact that I don't like to see him pinching as much as he has, but he's got to be able to play better defensively. And that's something that Miro is so good at on both sides of the puck. And, we talk about him and his offensive ability all the time because that's what, gets in highlights. People notice offense more. But the reason I don't think it's an ironic thing that when Miro Heiskanen comes back into the lineup after having mononucleosis for like 2 weeks, that the Stars almost immediately get better.
Yeah.
That's not
It's
that's
not
not
a
a coincidence.
coincidence.
It's
Not at
absolutely not a
all.
coincidence. And we don't need Harley to be Miro level like that, but we do need somebody else like that if John Klingberg does move on. So he's really gonna have to step up, and he's gonna have to show that that he deserves this spot because it's his for the taking at this point. He's got to prove to Bonus and to maybe even more importantly to Jim Nill that he's ready to take that top 4 spot. So, anyways, let's go ahead and get into tonight's game summary. Oh wait, no, you need to do your biggest winner and biggest loser.
Right. I had him and then I forgot. Okay, you said Pavelski for getting the game-winning goal. So I'm gonna say Tyler Seguin.
Oh, that's a good one.
Because he had a 3-point night. They were all assists, but he hit every line combination that he was involved in tonight just looked lethal. Like they were constantly getting chances in the offensive zone. So big winner for Tyler Seguin tonight. And my loser was going to be Harley, but I'm going to go with Radulov. And not because he played bad, but because he just can't sink anything. He really can't. It doesn't matter how many chances he gets. He just cannot score.
Yeah, you must have been listening to our past 2 podcasts because that's all I complained about.
I listened to a couple, but like he really had a great game today. He was forechecking really hard and he looked good while he was forechecking.
Didn't take a penalty.
He didn't take a penalty this game, which is a big plus.
That is a big plus.
And he didn't make very bad turnovers this game either. He wasn't like a big defensive liability this game. So
yep.
He just can't score.
He's eventually going to score, and what I hope happens is that's going to just come with a barrage of goals.
Man, I really hope so. But I mean, right now I don't see it.
Because I'm really harping on him, that he should be scratched and stuff like that. But maybe I was a little too rough on him the last 2 games. I just got frustrated with him because he's had all of these chances. Like the first game against Anaheim, 5 or 6 at least, and of those 5 or 6, 2 or 3, 2 or 3 were like grade A chances. I'm like, how do you not get those to go in? And then, typically when we see like Hintz go through a goal drought, same with Robo, even Seguin or Ben, they've been a little bit quieter, obviously, the past couple of years, but when they get one, it starts to come at more of a consistent pace once they get that first one. And I think that's all Radulov needs. He just needs one. If you get him one and he'll get it more consistently, and then that would really help the Stars out.
He has 4 goals on the season though, and none of them are in consecutive games. I'm pretty sure, they're all spread out throughout the season. It doesn't matter if he scores one; it doesn't seem to have any effect on him, honestly.
Right. So, well, for his sake, I hope he gets one very soon because, I mean, a healthy scratch may be coming his way if he doesn't start burying those chances, and at least he's getting the chances. So, I mean, we'll see what happens for Alexander Radulov over the next coming weeks, and maybe that hot streak will start right when the playoffs are coming around. And I mean, maybe that will happen because Radulov has been known to score some big goals for the Stars, not just in the playoffs, but he was one of the big reasons why the Stars won the 2020 Winter Classic. I mean, he was one of the big reasons. So we'll see. Anyways, starting with the game summary, third time's the charm. In the first period, some big headlines coming in before the game even starts. Wedgwood is in. He gets the starter's net over Jake Ottinger to get Ottinger some rest. Gary is back in. Studenic is out, and then Lindell is out for the second straight game. So that's not a good thing for. It's probably the worst of the three because Wedgwood can handle his own. Wedgwood can handle his own. Gary can handle his own, but not having Lindell in is very hurtful. So hopefully it's not a long-term thing, and it's just a couple of games against some bad teams that we can afford to let him, rest and start to feel better. Right off the bat in the first minute and a half, Nick Bonino scores off of a rebound and he makes it 1-0 San Jose. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, oh boy, it's the reverse Minutemen. What'd you think of the first goal?
It was just the opening minute was very kind of back and forth. There were some chances on both sides a little bit. I think both had one quick chance, and then it was just too open for the Stars in the opening a little bit.
Well, not even 30 seconds later, the Stars would score. Vlad Namestnikov, formerly of the Detroit Red Wings, now of the Dallas Stars, gets his first goal from Tyler Seguin, who you mentioned had a really good game. It was a forecheck goal, and it's his very first one. It was a great setup all the way around, and San Jose just didn't play defense in front of their own net.
Yeah, and that was kind of a trend throughout the night. They just it's one thing that as Stars fans we find really weird because teams don't get shots from the slot on our team. That's our best defensive quality as a team. So with just leaving the net open like that, and Namestnikov just snuck in, Seguin threw it right to him, and he sunk it.
Very nice to see Namestnikov get that goal because he's been on that second line. So naturally, if you think, okay, the Stars are going to play him as a top six forward, you would expect to see some offense out of him. And that trio of, I think it was Gary on that second line as well, with Seguin and Namestnikov.
And sometimes Peterson. They shifted it around a little bit because I think it must have been Bonus not fully liking how Gary was playing, I'm sure, but it got shifted a little bit tonight.
Well, whoever it was on that second line played very well for the Stars tonight, and specifically in the first period. At 17:44, I wrote Harley not in good D-zone coverage for the Sharks' ozone chance. So Harley out of position there. 16:14 remaining in the first. Raffle blocks a shot and then clears. It's really good defense. And about 5 minutes in, I wrote 5-5 in shots. So, there's the alliteration there, 5-5-5 instead of 6-6-6, because that otherwise would have been bad, And then 13:55, Glendening completely plants Milosh. So Glendening with a really big hit there. And then at 12:45, Hintz gets his first of several chances in tonight's game. And he continues to be the elite forward that we talked about before the beginning of the season. And he shoots it through the blue paint. And then I kind of wrote this just because I might be in the minority here when I think this. And you can tell me what you think. I really like the camera angle at the Shark Tank. Like it's most of the time the camera angle is right here.
Talking about.
And then at the SAP aka Shark Center, it's just slightly higher. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to see more into the close corners, not the far corners, but the close corners. You can see a little bit more. And I really like the camera angle at the Shark Tank. And that was just me. And random thought. What do you think?
I know a couple of people actually like that camera angle. It honestly doesn't make a big difference for me because I'm just used to watching it with not being able to see those inside boards anyway. So it's whatever.
Yeah. Most people are like, Ryan, why do you even care? That's so stupid. Just watch the game. And I'm just like, I think it's so cool. Okay. Anyways, right after I wrote that, maybe there's some good luck in that I wrote a random thought there, but Hakanpää would score after Seguin purposely passes.
Purposefully. Yes, he passed that. Passed it.
That was the greatest slap shot pass I've ever seen.
Greatest fake in history.
And Hakanpää gets his first real goal of the season. I think it was his third of the season, and that's 2 assists for Sagan on the night. It was just a complete bomb at the dead center at the top of the ozone. What did you think of the goal by Hakanpää?
I think Kähkönen was just surprised that Sagan's stick hit the ice that hard and just lost where the puck went. And then Hakanpää just kind of like slung it in there. It was a nice smooth shot, you know. It was on the far side. It was hard to get to, but like, it's pretty lucky.
Yeah, pretty lucky. Well, I would like to see Hakanpää shoot more because he seems to like he's got a bomb. And
I don't know.
And by the way, if for those of you that don't understand it, we were being sarcastic. Sagan completely whiffed on the shot, and Hakanpää just happened to be right there.
Explain that.
Well, some people
look at the name of the podcast, Ryan.
I know.
Look at the name.
I know, but some people miss the sarcasm sometimes.
You're ruining the ambiance.
I know. I'm ruining the name of the show. Sorry. Anyways, 10:45 remaining in the first. Petey would get a 1v2, and he would try to get something off of it. It was a decent shot, but not much came of it. 45 seconds later, the Stars would go up 3-1 off of a Hintz deflection by Klinger. That's Hintz's 30th of the season. And it was also a secondary assist for Joe Pavelski. So Joe Pavelski gets on the board, one of his several points he's had at the Shark Tank over the 3 games that he's played there since he's become a Dallas Star. And it was a garbage goal. It happened to bounce off of Hintz in the slot. He was in the right place at the right time. And, Kähkönen, dang, man, did not look good. What'd you think of that play?
I think Hintz was surprised how that went in.
I think everybody was surprised that it went in.
Because he was trying to tip it, but it was like tipped really hard. So the puck's going a lot slower at that point, and it just kind of snuck past Kähkönen on the far side, right? Yeah. Did it like go under his arm? I don't know. It was hard to tell. Well,
honestly, I thought he did tip it. I thought he tipped it because, when I was first watching the play, I thought he tipped it. So I thought it was an amazing goal, and I was freaking out because I thought it was a beautiful deflection. And then I saw what happened. I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, he was so surprised to win it. He felt to go off of him, and then he was like, wait.
Yeah. Oh, cool. It's in the back of the net. And I'm good at this hockey thing. I just need to stay in the slot.
Let goal number 30, baby.
Right, exactly. Anyways, Stars are up 3-1 at this point, and this would be the third of a 4-goal barrage by the Stars in the first period. At 8:50 remaining in the first period, Dahlin for San Jose would get a chance after Sekera misses the puck trying to glove it out.
I saw that. I was like, what the heck was Sekera thinking?
Well, in Sekera's defense, he normally makes that play. He normally does. He's made that play, dozens of times, and the one time he doesn't, it kind of shoots himself in the foot with it. So thankfully nothing came of it.
That's why other players don't do that play though, because if you miss it, the person has a breakaway. So
or if you're going to do that, make sure your defense partner is behind you. Yeah. So
if he waits like a second longer instead of like skating towards it, he waits for it a little bit. It's probably not even a problem.
And maybe he was just trying to pinch at the D zone blue line in order for that not to come in. And I think that was the case in that particular play, but still if you're going to make that play, you better make sure you do it, because otherwise that could have been really bad for the Stars. And then they finally went to break. It took them 11 and a half minutes before they finally went to break. And then right after they came back from the commercial break, the first thing they mentioned was that Dallas has a 1-5 record against the Sharks in the Shark Tank in the last 6 games. So scary thought. Even up 3-1, I'm just thinking, oh great, the Stars are going to completely stars this. So, and then I wrote down this. I wrote, can Kähkönen play every game against the Stars? He can just get traded from every team, even in the playoffs, and he's the only player he's allowed to. I would love to see Kähkönen in the net for every single team we play against, and he has to start. which which again, I was surprised he got the start tonight
I think
because
everyone was like
and
that seems like such a dumb decision.
right, and Reimer was 7-1-1 against the Stars in his career. So
Just doesn't make sense.
and especially after the last game Kakinen played when he was a member of the Minnesota Wild, the Stars lit him up. They scored 7 on him.
And didn't Reimer shut us out last time we played them?
Something like that. He played really well against us.
He did. We got like maybe one goal, I think.
I don't remember. It was something like that. It was something insane. But either way, I'm thinking, seriously, can Kakinen play against us every single time? But anyways, 5.5 minutes in, Chmelevski, I love his name, and he played great tonight for the San Jose Sharks. He would have a chance with a broken play in front of Wedgwood, but he completely missed the net. 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the first. Couture would have a breakaway. He didn't get everything on it, and he still tested Wedgwood, but Wedgwood would make the save there. The 1 minute remaining mark in the first, I mentioned that already. Harley was looking pretty rough. And then with seconds remaining in the first period, and specifically 0.3 seconds remaining, Robo would score off of the boards. He would score by a point shot from Miro, who would get the primary assist, and Seguin, who would get the secondary assist by winning the faceoff. So the Stars would go up 4-1 going into the first intermission after allowing the first goal. So complete turn of events. Yeah, complete turn of events for the Dallas Stars. And the Stars don't normally score 4 goals in a game. Nonetheless, 4 goals in the period.
So, I don't remember the last time we scored 4 goals in a period.
Right. I don't either. And a couple of stats coming out of the first period that I wanted to point out. James, you kind of already mentioned this off air with me when we were talking before we started. They won 80% of the 86% of the faceoff, in the first period.
I looked at it and I thought it was an error. I was like, that can't be right. Like, no. But no, we just won every face-off in the period, essentially.
Right. And then I also put this, is that the defensemen for the Stars have actually been chipping in points, even with Miro being out. They have been tied for the 4th best in the league as a D-corps since January 20th. And before that, they were like bottom half of the league. I think 26th or 27th in the league in points. So
they're still not scoring though.
Hey, I don't care. As long as they're getting assists and stuff like that.
I'll take assists.
I'll take it. I'll take it because we were not getting any kind of defensive or defenseman offensive numbers for months. And the fact that we're seeing this now, that's great because the Stars lean heavily on those numbers, especially Miro, Essa, and John Klingberg in particular. And hopefully Harley can get into that conversation too. We need to get him his first career goal. We'll see what happens. But we'll see. Overall thoughts from the first period.
We just dominated that period. I mean, they got the chances at the beginning of the first, but after the beginning of the first, we just played the whole period in their zone. Like we didn't have to play defense that period.
Yeah, and here's a good comment by Eric. And Eric saying on YouTube, John is putting up points since he was not moved at the deadline. And that was something I specifically mentioned the very first game after the trade deadline. He looked fantastic defensively and offensively. So you could tell that was always in the back of his mind, the trade deadline and the fact that he could get traded. He probably didn't want to be traded. And maybe that's why he was playing so badly. But ever since the trade deadline, he's looked a lot better overall. I think there's one game recently when I've been like, okay, his defense has not been up to par. But ever since then, other than that one game, I've noticed him making great defensive plays, great offensive plays. And, it's good to see John Klingberg playing well.
Yeah, and really, he had a step up in his play when Heiskanen was out for those 11 games. And he's just looked better since the trade deadline as well. It's really encouraging to see him play a lot better now.
Yeah, and the Stars really needed that too, especially because they need offense from their defensemen, and that's how they win games sometimes. So, anyways, second period, obviously, Kakinen comes out after allowing the fourth goal with 0.3 seconds remaining, and Reimer is in net. That's when they show the stat 7-1-1, which scared the crap out of me. 17-17 remaining in the second. Stars are forechecking really well. That was a big part of their game in the first, and then it continued in the second. 16 minutes 16 minutes remaining in the second period. Hence, with a semi breakaway, Burns would take a slashing penalty, and it would be the first penalty of the game. It goes against the San Jose Sharks, and it would be the first Stars power play. At 14:53 during said power play, Pavelski would get stoned point blank by Reimer. So, Pavelski trying to get that goal against his former team, but Reimer says no. And then at that point, sorry, I got to move all my papers around. Seguin had
iPad.
a really, huh?
You mean your iPad?
Oh yeah, my iPad primitive edition. And then anyway, Seguin would have a good defense play on Balcers during the power play, and the Sharks would kill the penalty. The Stars are 0 for 1 on the power play. What did you think about the power play, the first power play?
Honestly, I didn't get to see the first power play,
okay.
but from what you're saying, we had chances on it, but we're not scoring on them. It's frustrating.
Period would continue. 13 minutes remaining. Stars with a potential 3-on-2, but Raffle does not connect on a pass. And the dude cannot make any offensive plays to save his life. Score a goal, make a good pass, or anything. So I guess Bonus really loves his defense, and maybe that's what's keeping him in the lineup. But
Raffle did play really good defense tonight. Specifically, I'm thinking about the block shot that he took to the side and then speared the puck out of the.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, that is a good point.
Like that's a full commitment play right there. It's crazy.
Pavelski would get high sticked about 30 seconds later, and there was no call on Magana, so that would go uncalled. And then Brent Burns, about 20 seconds later, would score. It wasn't a good goal. It was a lucky bounce off of Harley's skate, and it's
you say lucky. You say lucky, but like if Harley's sitting in the worst spot possible with his skates angled perfectly for the puck to go off of him and into the net. I'm sorry, but that's pretty bad by Harley. Like I saw it at first and I heard it. I was like, oh, that's pretty unlucky. And then I went back and looked at it again. I was like, is it really unlucky though? I mean, he really, I mean, it happened to Lindell the other night too, but like
2 games ago. Yeah.
You can't sit there as a defenseman.
Yeah, that's true. But the difference between Harley and Lindell is the fact that Lindell makes better defensive plays. Harley does not really make better defensive plays all the time.
Yeah.
So
it really felt like Harley was there just hoping that the puck would hit him and not go to the other person.
Right. And I mean, I understand that Harley was in good defensive position, but you can't let that go off your skate, man. I mean, it's just an unlucky bounce. So whatever. But anyways, 3 minutes would go by, and I felt like I had to write something down. So this is what I wrote down. I wrote 19-16 in shots in favor of Dallas. That would, very much narrow down as the game would go along. And the difference in the shots was much worse in the first period. So San Jose getting more shots, more opportunities, but still the Stars playing pretty good defensively. The one goal that was scored in the second period was just, I thought, was a lucky bounce. James thinks it was just kind of a.
It was still like it's a lucky bounce. It's a lucky break for them, but like
Harley
you can't let it go off your skates like that.
Right.
At least not when you're not playing good defensively anyway.
And I'd made it a point tonight to do this particular thing, is look at the more defensive plays that Stars are making, because I write a lot about the offensive stuff, but not too much about the defensive stuff. So this is one of several that I mentioned. I mentioned Raffle earlier. This at 8 minutes 41 seconds remaining. There was a very good defensive play by Miro on San Jose when there was a 2-on-2. So Miro with a really good defensive play. A minute and 40 seconds later, 7 minutes remaining in the period, Pavelski would have a chance off of a San Jose turnover. And then I wrote, would love to see him get one off of his old team, which he eventually would, but not yet. 4.5 minutes remaining, Petey with a chance from Radulov, a good save by Reimer. And then I wrote two things here. Maybe Radulov just needs to pass the puck and not shoot, because he seems to do really well when he passes the puck to Peterson, and Peterson normally puts it away. And then I put Peterson has really started blossoming into a possible top 6 option for the Stars, and this is something we've mentioned, especially over the past month. He's in double-digit scoring for the Stars. This guy came out of nowhere. Nobody saw him making the Stars off of the opening night roster, but because of some issues with some injuries that we had, he makes the opening night roster, and he's been a regular in the lineup. And especially for a rookie to be playing as well as he has, a lot of that has to go to Rick Bowness, and I will give him full credit for that, because this guy has come out of nowhere. He's scored very well for this team, and I think a lot of it has to do with the style of coaching that Rick Bowness does. And Peterson just happens to blossom under this type of system. What do you think?
Well, the reason why Peterson scores goals is because he's good at shooting from the slot. He finds his way there pretty regularly, and he knows how to get open there. So that's really where he scores most of his goals. And he actually had a little bit of trouble tonight. He was in tight twice on goalies, and he can't lift the puck very well from very close, I've noticed. But he really does. He just sinks into that slot position and just consistently scores from there. And I don't know how much of that really is bonus or just him being a natural goal scorer and just going to where he knows he's going to score.
Well, and what I would love to see out of him is the whole 5th round pick thing that the Stars have. I don't know what it is about crazy. Stars with the 5th round picks, but our current captain, Mr. Jamie Benn, was a 5th round pick. Klingberg was a 5th round pick. And now this Peterson guy, who looks like he could be a top 6 option, like for real, over the course of the next 10 years or so, is also a 5th round pick. So we'll see what happens with Peterson, but I would love to see him on the top line with Robo and Hintz once Pavelski is not in the picture. And I think he's doing a fantastic job. It doesn't matter what line he's on, whether he's with the Seguin Mestikov line or whether he was on that third line with Ben and Radulov. He's been doing really well offensively.
Yeah, I mean, he's outscoring Guryanov now. He has 12 goals and Guryanov has 11.
So then that's a big deal, especially considering Guryanov 2 years ago was the Stars, top goal scorer. I think he had 20. So, anyways, after that chance for Petey, 2.5 minutes remaining. Ferraro for San Jose. I thought this was kind of funny. They were trying the hidden ball trick.
Yeah.
So
I was so confused.
I think everybody was. I was confused. I was like, "Where did the puck go?" And I was watching. Reimer because normally goalies are the ones that know where the puck is at all times, and he's looking around like, "Where the heck did it go?" And I don't even think Ferraro understood that he had the puck in his glove for a second. It was like a good second or two before anybody realized that it was there. But anyways, I thought it was funny. And then minute 35 remaining, Barabanov, who was a waiver pickup from Toronto and now plays for San Jose, had a wraparound chance. And then Radulov, again, with a really good chance right before Barabanov's chance. That would end the second period. The Stars are up 4-2. San Jose gets the only goal of the period, but it was a freak bounce. It was an unlucky bounce, in my opinion. Is how I would describe that period.
the period kind of flew from Stars in the first 5 minutes, and it flew and it moved over to the Sharks in the middle of it. And then once the Sharks scored, it kind of moved back to the Stars. And a lot of it, and it wasn't like we were playing great defense in the first and last 5 minutes. We were just playing in their zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how we were winning this game so handily in those first two periods. Was we didn't play in our zone at all.
Yep. And generally, I like the second period. I thought it was okay. But, 2-goal leads are the worst leads in hockey. Still. It used to be 1, and now it's starting to become 2.
For the Stars, it's still 1.
It's still 1.
because we know we're gonna lose that 1 goal every single time. It's not a question.
Yeah,
it's not a question of if. It's a question of when.
Yeah.
So,
well, we know when a 6-on-5. We just know
when.
We'll talk about it.
HEN when.
We'll talk about it again. But apparently a 4-goal lead is the worst lead in hockey for the New Jersey Devils. I don't know if you saw that today.
Oh my! I listened to that game.
Did you believe that?
That was painful.
Okay. Yeah. Random side tangent here. Okay. So New Jersey was up over the Florida Panthers 6-2, I believe. Or was it 5-1?
It was 6-2 going into the third.
Going into this third period, a 4-goal lead, which is what made me kind of scared about this 2-goal lead. They lost the game in overtime.
Game was hard to listen to. It was so sad. Game. Like the Panthers scored one early in the third. I'm like, oh no, please don't. And then they scored another one about halfway through, and I was, please no. And then they scored one at towards the end when they pulled the goalie with like 4 minutes left. I was like, oh no, they're gonna do it.
Yeah, I started watching when it was 6-4. When it was 6-4, I started watching, and I was just like, they're gonna do this. If there's any team in the league that can do it, that has the offensive firepower to do it, it's obviously the Florida Panthers.
They're the only team that's beating us in third period comebacks.
I know, right? Exactly. So,
yeah, it makes sense. But like, oh, that was a hard game to listen to.
Man, well, hopefully that doesn't happen to the Stars. But dang, that has to hurt. I know New Jersey is not in any kind of. I know. I know it hurt me. Yeah, I felt bad for Neil, who he's the podcast host of the. The name of his podcast is escaping me, but he covers the New Jersey Devils for THPN, and I thought about him as soon as it became 6-6.
How do you explain that game to anyone?
Yeah,
like when they went to the third period with a 4-goal lead and then they lost.
Thankfully, the Stars almost did that tonight, but it did not happen. So let's get into the third period. We tried to give it away, but we didn't. So first thing, coming back into the start of the third period, they mentioned 30 goals for each Robo and Hintz, first 25 years old or younger duo since Binnigan. So good for them. Going into the third period, 50 seconds in, there was a chance for Klingberg, and at this point, a minute later, it was 25-23 in shots for Dallas, so the Stars are getting even closer in shots to the San Jose Sharks. 17:41 remaining, the Sharks would get their first power play of the game. It was a slashing call on Sekera. It was kind of weak, but I mean, it was a penalty.
I looked at it, but
it was a penalty.
Like he just got his stick, honestly, because I went back and looked at it, and they called it on that first little thing around. If anything, it was hooking, but like, whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Anyways, right off the face-off, off the penalty kill, the Stars would get a 3-on-2. What? And they get a good chance off of it. There's no goal off of it, but the Sharks were like, oh, we lost the face-off, and then all the forwards were like, oh, screw y'all take care of the defense. I think the Stars were a little shocked. I forgot who was skating the puck into the neutral zone, but he was fixing to dump it in, and then he realized, oh wait, we have a 3-on-2. That's what it looked like. It was really weird, but anyways, good chance for the Stars there. Again, I made it another point to write a good defensive play. 20 seconds later, 17-10 remaining, there was a good poke by Suter on Timo Meyer, who leads the Sharks in basically all offensive categories. So good play by Suter there. The Stars would eventually kill the penalty, and the Sharks would get nothing out of that power play. It was not a good power play for them. The Stars would continue their penalty kill prowess over the last couple of games. Yes, they've been playing the bad California teams, but still, it's good to see them get some good momentum for their penalty kill, which has been kind of spotty over the past couple of months.
It was spotty when Miro wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah, and
And then he
again,
came back,
another
and then
reason why.
it kind of fixed itself a little bit.
Yep, another good reason why it's good to see Miro Heiskanen in the lineup for the Stars. 14-15 remaining. Barabanov would do another wraparound chance, and you would think that he would realize that wouldn't work, but he did it anyways. A minute later, 13-10 remaining. Logan Couture with a wide open net, but he's not able to put it home because it jumps on him, and he almost made it a 1-goal game. It turns around. 5-2 Dallas, 12-16 remaining. Pavelski would score off the rush from Hintz and Robo, and he has now scored against all 32 NHL teams, including his own team.
And we haven't played Seattle yet.
Yeah, we have.
We've played Seattle. Did I miss that game?
Yeah, I think you missed that game.
I think I missed that game. I didn't know we played them.
I think it was towards the beginning of the year, but
I have no recollection of that game.
Well,
did we win?
I hope so. It's Seattle. But anyways, 5-2. Pavelski would score. He would finally get a goal against his former team, and we didn't realize it at the time, but it would be a very, very big and important goal for the Dallas Stars.
I thought that was going to be the nail in the coffin. I thought that they just like sealed it with that, because move back to a 3-goal lead, and yeah, that's probably it. There's probably not going to be anything else.
I didn't hold my breath for that comment at all. I thought that, but I didn't believe it.
And it's just crazy what the first line on our team does. Like, they get 3 goals on the night tonight. It's stupid what they're doing right now.
It's nice to have a good first line.
It's a very scary line. Like, well, together, it's probably one of the most scoring lines in the entire league.
That'd be interesting to look up a stat about that. That would be very interesting, because it's not like any of those 3 guys are like
crazy.
It's not like they're superstar quality. I mean, I would consider all 3 of them as pretty elite forwards, but they're not Connor McDavid,
they're
Austin Matthews,
elite, but
they're not the top 10. Not one of them is like a top 10 player in the NHL. But the 3 guys together, the chemistry between them is just absolutely insane. And it reminds me a lot of Boston, and those 3 guys in Boston with Pastrnak, Marchand, and Bergeron. And all 3 of those guys just, they have more star firepower than our 3 guys do. But there's a lot of good similarities between the 2. So it's just good to see the top line for the Stars continuing to score. And they're going to have to continue scoring in order for the Stars to make the playoffs or do any kind of damage in the playoffs. So let's hope that continues. At 10.5 minutes remaining, Glendening would get high-sticked. It looked really bad. At first, I thought Glendening was going to be out of the game. He would stay in the game. It was a 4-minute power play for the Stars, and it was Hertl who would take the penalty. So it was the first minute and a half was really bad, and the next minute was better, but the San Jose Sharks would kill all 4 minutes off. And at that point, I'm thinking, I really hope this doesn't come to bite us in the butt. And it almost did. With 4 minutes and 39 seconds remaining in the game, the San Jose Sharks would score. It was Leonard with his first of the season, and it was off of a broken play, and the shot came from the point by Carlson. So it was just a broken play. Carlson shot it from, I think, the right side. It bounced off a couple players, and it happened to jump right down on Leonard's stick, and he puts it away. And that's when I'm thinking, oh no, here we go again. Here we go. And it wasn't even 6-on-5 at this point.
Yeah, that goal went in, and as Stars fans, you just feel your heart just kind of drop about 2 inches.
or like
You're like,
or like
oh,
your or like the
oh
Grinch,
man.
like your heart sinks down like it was like 3 sizes too small or something.
And you can just feel the rest coming. You're like, oh
Oh, here we go.
no.
And then 3 minutes later, with a minute and 25 seconds remaining, Shimbolevsky, who I mentioned earlier, who I thought had a really good game for San Jose, would score.
No, he
But
didn't.
then I actually, yeah, and that's, yeah, so, yeah, let me finish. Let me finish.
No, he didn't.
I thought he scored. And then I wrote, oh, actually, it's Couture. And I put, uh-oh.
He
And
didn't score. He just kicked Wedgwood's pads out of the way. That's all.
I didn't think he kicked it out of the way.
It looked like he kicked them out of the way.
But either way, the Stars can't allow a goal
Oh
like
no,
that.
he was wide open.
Not allow a goal like that.
That was ridiculous. I saw that and I was like, that's going in no matter what. He could shoot it 12 feet in the air and still make that in the net somehow.
So it was a bludgeoning goal. Oh, excuse me. I'm tired. You would think it's like after midnight in the Central Time Zone. But anyways, after that, the Stars fans are just holding their breath because
Oh, I wasn't holding my breath. I was panicking.
Considering the game we played, there's no way that this should be 5-4. Absolutely no way this should be 5-4. We should be up by 5-2 like we were.
And you know exactly how it happened is we stopped playing in their zone. I mean,
the first 15 minutes was better. The first 15 minutes of the third period were okay. They weren't fantastic. It was not like us dominating like we did in the first period, but we didn't need to. We were up 4-2 at that point. And then when we got the goal, we were even up 5-2. So it's almost like the Stars like took their foot off the gas and they were like, okay, we have a game tomorrow. We need to save some energy. And it nearly cost them the game.
Which like that makes sense to an extent. I haven't looked at the time on ice tonight. I'm sure it's spread out a lot, but we just lost focus completely on this game. I mean, these teams that are out of the playoffs, they know they're not going to make it, but they're still hungry for these wins. They don't want to be the team that finishes last in their division.
Yeah. So I mean, thankfully it didn't happen because Ben. I mean, the guy is a beast. I mean, there's so
hilarious.
There's so many things he doesn't get credit for, but like the last 20 to 30 seconds, he keeps it in a corner.
He has it pinned, and he literally takes like a full 2 seconds to look up at the scoreboard away from where the puck is. He still has it pinned. He looks up and he's like, oh, okay. Looks back down and keeps it pinned there for another like 10 seconds.
10 seconds, yeah. And it was basically 1v3. It was him against 3 Sharks, and the 3 Sharks were not able to get the puck away from Jamie Benn. So he kind of takes it to the buzzer. Stars win by a final score of 5-4, and then I wrote a really scary way to end the game.
I just hope that we got our rest in for tomorrow.
Right. So the Stars will turn around tomorrow and they will play a game in Seattle. I'm sure they're actually on their way to the airport or they're already in the air. And they're heading their way to Seattle. Do you know what time that game starts, James?
9. It's a 9 o'clock game.
8 o'clock.
Another right one. Oh,
8 o'clock.
8? I thought it was at 9 o'clock.
I thought it was.
Normally I'm right. It's okay.
I thought it was a 9 o'clock game too, but it's actually starting at 8 at Climate Pledge Arena. Seattle's having a really rough season. I mean, they're an expansion team.
Hopefully they keep having a rough season.
Yeah, at least for one more game against the Stars.
There's one thing that I wanted to mention. So we beat the Ducks 3-2 in back-to-back games, right? Did you see the game that they had tonight? Or it wasn't tonight, it was last night. They scored 5 against the Coyotes, which like it's the Coyotes, yeah, but they shouldn't be scoring 5 probably. They're not a very good team either. So that team was begging for a win in those 2 games.
And the Stars took care of business. It wasn't pretty, but they took care of business. And I guess you could say that about all 3 games so far on this West Coast trip.
1-goal games. We're
Stars
the
are one of the best
best.
team. We're one of the best teams when it comes to one
We're
goal
just
games.
padding our stats.
I I was really thankful that the Stars didn't have to worry about the 4-minute power play not costing them in the game tonight, because I
Yeah.
thought it was going to, especially when it became 5-4. I was like, we're gonna lose this game in overtime, and we're gonna look back at that
We don't lose
4-minute
in
power play.
overtime, Ryan. If we were going to lose, they would have scored there with like a minute left, and then they would have scored again before the game ended, and we would have lost in regulation.
Shut up, James. I
You know
hate
that's
you.
what would have happened.
Yes, I know that's what would have happened, but doesn't mean you have to mention it.
Well, it didn't happen, so I mentioned it.
All right. It's getting late here. It's 1:15 in the morning. We got church tomorrow morning. You got anything else tonight, James, before we close it out?
So Ardell was sad that we don't get a GG boys from Chris, so GG boys.
James filling in for Chris tonight. All right, guys. Please make sure you go and follow us on anywhere you get your social media. We're basically everywhere, including on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, basically everything. Also, we'll be back with you guys again tomorrow night after the game against Seattle. That'll be a little earlier. And then a couple of other things. We will be doing a live watch along with Neil of, again, the podcast slips my mind, the name of his podcast, but he covers the New Jersey Devils for THPN. We'll be doing a live watch along on the THPN YouTube channel next weekend. And I believe that game is during the afternoon. I'm looking it up. It's 1:00 a week from today.
Game.
So it's that Saturday. So we will be looking
Chris
forward to
says
that.
about afternoon games.
We lose those games.
We lose those games.
No matter who it is. So, and then also go and make sure that you go and check out StarcastStickerMarksShop.com. We've just released our first phase of our merchandise options. There's some coffee mugs, some apparel, obviously, and some other really cool stuff there. We'd love for you guys to go and check that out. And that's how you can directly fund our podcast and help us with all the stuff that we do. We really appreciate that. And yeah, make sure you like and subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. And I think that's it. Along with James, I'm Ryan, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side. We hope you guys have a fantastic evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this. Bye.